The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and are not those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. The phone lines are open. Call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788. That's 220-WSTU. It's time for Stuart Laser Talk with your host, Dr. Tred J. Rizacker.
I'm 5'10" and 242 pounds.
I always say this is the biggest I'm ever going to be, and I said that like 20 pounds ago.
A third of Americans are obese, another third is overweight.
Obesity is the biggest threat to the health, welfare, and future of this country.
I've always been overweight.
I've got diabetes,
Sleep apnea,
Heart disease.
everything's hurting now.
It's a lot easier to lose weight than it is to keep weight off.
This is probably going to be the first generation of children who are going to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents.
18% of our children right now are obese.
It's not only health, it's about survival and well-being of the United States as a nation.
You don't crave broccoli, and our generation has grown up craving a Big Mac.
I want to think that there's something better for me.
Unless we're able to control this epidemic, we're going to have an abundance of chronic disease.
All of us have to be part of the solution to reduce obesity.
The weight of the nation is out of control, but we can fix that.
If we don't now take this as a really urgent national priority, we are all going to pay a really serious price.
Obesity will crush the United States in oblivion.
The laser lipo revolution is here. How would you like to lie on your back for 30 minutes, 3 times per week for 3 weeks, and lose 1 to 5 inches of measured girth, 2 to 3 pant sizes, 2 to 3 dress sizes, without any strict caloric reduction or any excessive exercise? What seemed to be a myth and out of reach for most Americans has now become a reality in the form of today's FDA-cleared and FDA-approved technology called low-level laser red light lipo machines. There is no need whatsoever to subject yourself to the risks associated with surgical procedures like liposuction, abdominoplasty, commonly called tummy tucks or mommy makeovers, or the use of any kind of hot energy or freezing energy such as fat freezing or hot lasers anymore. I'm telling you, no reason for that. The future of spot fat reduction, body sculpting, skin tightening, thigh reducing, chin improvement is red light laser assisted weight loss. It's a low level FDA cleared laser technology. When you apply it to the subcutaneous fatty layers, low-level laser therapy will produce predictable, consistent, lasting, sustainable inch reduction without any pain. There is no downtime, and without any kind of rigid food discipline or strenuous exercise, as is so common with traditional weight loss and body sculpting. My name is Dr. Tred Rizacker, and I'm a chiropractor, and I am the doctor, the owner, and a client at the Slim Body Laser Spa of Stuart. We're located on 2311 Southeast Ocean Boulevard. That's here in Stuart. It's on the way out to beautiful Hutchinson Island in the wonderful beachside town of Stuart, Florida. My phone number is 772-223-5885. My toll-free number is 1-844-DR-SLIM-BODY. I have a website, Dr. Tred's SlimBodyLaserSpa.com. Have a Facebook page, Dr. Tred's Slim Body Laser Spa. A YouTube page, Twitter, Dr. Tred DC, LinkedIn, you name it. If you want to find me, make an appointment for a free consultation, and you might qualify for a $49 Discovery Day one-time visit. All you have to do is type in Dr. Tred in your search. My name is very unique. There's very few Dr. Treds out there. There's a lot of places that say Slim, a lot of places that say laser and weight loss, but very few people have the name Dr. Tread. And you can see my images. You can see all of my stuff going back 10, 15 years of being on the internet, from my chiropractic office to the use of deep tissue pain lasers, class 4 devices, right up to the, within the last 8 to 10 years of doing the laser lipo here in Stewart. It's a rocking procedure. It is so effective. It's so fast. And it's exciting as can be. I mean, when I get in and I have a new consultation, I get a little tingle, as if it was the first time meeting somebody. And I know it's going to be exciting. I can't say enough for it. There are no side effects. There are no risks. It's well tolerated. In fact, it works exactly how your body would normally burn calories, which is why it's so safe. And I'm going to explain that today. If you know anybody that's tuning in, that's been thinking about this, give them a call real quick, because in the next 3 to 5 minutes, I'm going to go over an actual explanation of how I explain this procedure to when my clients come in. Right now, we're close to, I think we're just cresting 4,000 to 4,800 clients that have been through the process. And that's only in 8 years. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 in the morning till 6. Saturdays from 8 to 12. So, my weight loss, the center has been providing a safe, sane alternative to surgical liposuction for over 8 years now. If you're still thinking of going and having liposuction without first looking at safer other options, you're either stuck in 2004 or you're just ignorant towards all these procedures out there. And at the Slim Body Laser Spa in Stewart, my low-level laser services are FDA cleared. And what that means is these machines are safe and they're predictable, and you can rest assured that there'll be no side effects or damage, that everything is disclosed. It's not a laser that would shoot a rocket out of the sky or carve your name in a metal plate. It's a low-level class 3B, which is a very low energy. It's called a cold laser, but please do not mistake us for Cool Sculpting. Okay, we are not Cool Sculpting or Safe Sculpt or Skull. All those names, Smart Lipo, they have to put those very unique names in front of their procedures because they're dangerous and they don't want you to think they are. So that's why I think they call them that. You can lose my laser actually releases the stubborn fat calories from the fat cells, the glycerol, the fatty acid in the water. And it's a natural process once the laser releases it. In a series of 9 sessions in 3 weeks, you can lose 3 to 9 to 12 inches of stubborn fat. Now that's combining 3 measurements together. So a 6-inch loss would be divided by 3 would be 2 inches in girth in 3 spots. 2-inch reduction on a tape in 3 spots. A 9-inch loss is a 3-inch reduction in 3 spots. A 12-inch loss is 4 inches in 3 areas. Now, when I did the procedure myself, I was 265 pounds. I was 54 years old. I was 52. I'm 58 today. And I was a 40-inch waist at 265. I got on my own laser procedure, and I did it 3 times a week for 3 weeks, and then an additional 3 sessions for the 4th week. And when I stepped off of the laser, I had went from a 40 waist to a 36 waist size. I have not been a 36 waist prior to that since I was in my late 20s. And that is my own testimonial. I couldn't believe how well it worked. Now, at the same time, I developed a diet, a food plan for myself, because let's face it, I was overweight. Not everybody's overweight. Some people just have leftover belly fat from having children. Some have it from an injury. Maybe they had some surgical scars, or they had some procedures to their abdomen, which has left them with some excess fatty tissue. Some people can have a genetic predisposition towards having extra subcutaneous fat, around the love handles, around the muffin top, or in the front of the belly, even though their diet is perfect and they're exercising a lot. these people need this outer procedure, this process which is applied from the outside of the body, because by eating less, they can't change it. And that's the truth when it comes to certain people. It also helps people who have reached their 50s, 40s, and 50s, and due to hormonal changes, they now have stubborn fat. They're getting a thickening around the midsection, their chins. It's much harder to lose the weight, to get those inches off as you get older. And it is a little to do with diet, but it's more to do with hormonal changes. So, and those would be basically your sex hormones. In a female, that would be estrogen and progesterone, which allows you to have your menstrual cycle. And in men, it's testosterone. We really are dominant with testosterone. And we have a little bit of estrogen, I like to say. And when you're in your 20s and 30s and 40s, those hormonal levels, unless you've had an injury or you've had a hysterectomy or you've had a lot of stress, a lot of abuse in some way, those hormonal levels stay very high. And what that means to you as a person is you have lean muscle. When you're 20, 30, and 40, and you have good hormonal levels, it's very easy to build muscle just by walking and normal activity. It's also really easy to burn fat when you have these hormonal levels are normal. And there's a big reason for that. One of the reasons, one of the most important features, I don't want to say features, but things that a human is able to do is to have children and to be able to procreate and to create more children. So this, our race can continue, and seems to be a God-given ability to do that. And when you're younger, you're going to have, if you have a child when you're younger, you're going to have to protect that child. You're going to have to protect it from the animals and other people and reasons and situations. You have to provide food and water for those children. And I think that's a big reason why before you're 60 years old, you have a lot of hormonal, your hormones are strong. You have a lot of lean muscle, and belly fat isn't very well accumulated because you need to be able to do that work. As you get older, everybody knows that hormones start to drop down. They start to decrease. And the first sign of a decrease in hormones in a female is menopause or premenopause. And that means that they're not making as much progesterone, and they're not going to have their cycle anymore because they can't have children after menopause. And once those hormones change, what happens is you become something called estrogen dominance. Now, estrogen is the hormone that a female uses to make you more feminine. I mean, this is when you're a female, you have high levels of estrogen. When you're a male, you have high levels of testosterone. I think most people know that by now. But the thing that balances out estrogen in females is progesterone. Progesterone is a hormone which works against estrogen, and they need to be in balance, 50-50. And in the 28-day menstrual cycle, when you think of the 28-day cycle, progesterone and estrogen, they vary in amounts, and this is what allows you to have your period. Well, when you reach menopause and you're not having your period anymore, estrogen becomes very dominant, and this makes changes in the body. And some of those changes are weight gain, mainly around the hips, the stomach, the thighs in a female. But in men, they can have a change in hormones also because their testosterone starts to drop down. Their test, so you've heard the term. And when test starts to get lower and lower, the estrogen that they have present becomes more of a player. It's more dominant. You're not making more estrogen. You just have less testosterone. And they'll start to develop the same thickening, this weight accumulation around their belly fat and what they call their male boobs, the moobs. And so this is the man who you see that really has a nice, their legs are fine, their thighs are okay, their arms are good, their neck. And then you look at them in the middle, and they're wearing a $600 Tommy Bahama shirt to cover their belly fat, right? They're not tucking in their shirts anymore, are they? They're not wearing any fitted clothing.
How much is that shirt?
I think they're pretty expensive. No, maybe they're not $600, but I know they're over $100.
Maybe choke a little bit.
Oh, there's some expensive Tommy Bahama shirts out there, but not where I shop. So I mean, that's most people's the way they deal with it, or they leave their shirt untucked. It looks kind of cool, kind of metrosexual, you know. They're happening, but they're really hiding those big bellies. Come on. And this has to do with low testosterone. And this is also something that we call the midlife crisis. I'm sure you've heard of that. The midlife crisis. All of a sudden, you get 50, 60 years old and they go out and they buy a brand new convertible, you know, and they get their, you know, they're out sporting around, and dad starts crying at movies and stuff. He's getting more emotional. Finally stops being such a hard butt, you know, starts being softer. That's some of the testosterone dropping. Anyway, the way it presents in your body is with excess weight gain. And it's not always because you're eating wrong. It's not always because of overeating, although overeating can cause that. And I go through this all the time with people. You know, they come in to my office and I do hundreds and hundreds of consultations with people, thousands of people that are in their 50s and 60s, and they're frustrated because they think that the extra weight gain is because of those 2 glasses of wine they're having at night. That's the reason why I have this belly fat. It must be the fact that I have a couple of bites of cake, you know, or I skip a meal. And, you know, that is always a problem, but it's not always the cause. And what we're finding is it has a lot more to do with this hormonal change. Now, the first thing that I think most of us think about is, well, what can I do about my hormonal depression? You know, how can I change my hormones? Now, one of the things about hormonal changes is it's kind of a natural process as you get older for your hormones to get less and less and less. And if you took a scale from 0 to 100, which would be 0 to 100 years old, and you marked your hormonal level when you reach puberty, which is, you know, 13, 14, 15 years old, and your hormones are very high, they should go at a nice even level till you're about 50 or 60 years old. And then at 50 or 60, they should start to drop down very, very slowly. As you get into 70 and 80 and 90, they should be much lower. What's happening to people today is because of stress and food that's unhealthy and toxins that we're accumulating in our bodies. We're also eating food which mimics estrogen. We're eating what they call endocrine disruptors. And those would be your dairy products, your chemicals, food additives, processed food, food colorings, these GMO kind of food, which, you know, the unhealthy stuff. These can disrupt your endocrine system. And then what happens is you get to be that. So let's look at that same hormonal profile, which 0 to 100 years old. Now you're at puberty, your hormones are high, and you get to be 25, 30, 35, 40, and you've been eating poor diet. You're not exercising. You're under a lot of stress, and your hormones literally will drop off like a cliff. Boom. And in 1 to 5 years, you could have such a loss of this normal hormonal profile that it's just mind-blowing. And what you'll feel is you'll feel miserable. You'll feel tired. You'll feel lethargic. You're going to have excessive weight gain. You're not going to be motivated to exercise. You're going to be eating foods to feel better. You're going to be looking for things with a sugar pop to make me feel better. Just look at this rise in energy drinks. Oh my God. They are like everybody's popping energy drinks. I watch it on TV, and this has a lot to do with this drop, this sudden falling off a cliff of your hormonal levels. This is also why so many people go for hormone replacement, this bioidentical hormone replacement. They're going to these IV lounges where they're dripping vitamins and minerals into their bloodstream. They're doing all kinds of things to try to feel better. So, you know, it's really a crisis in America. We see it all the time. And my only message about this is it's not always because you're overeating. If you want to change your hormonal profile, you got to eat clean. You got to detoxify. You got to exercise more. You got to drink more fresh water. You've also got to remove the stress from your life. You got to practice meditation, practice yoga, Tai Chi, turn off the TV, stop watching things and listening to things that you can't change or have no control over. The stress that you get from being frustrated when you watch TV and you hear about somebody who just got the short end of the stick somewhere in another country. Those kind of issues can give you anxiety, and they can give you stress, and they can raise your blood pressure and raise your cortisol. And and that's what news does. News, if it bleeds, it leads. News is not meant to be happy and healthy. And oh my God, I feel so good after I watch it. I actually shut off the TC Palm the other day. It had this thing, and I was like, I don't want your news feed anymore. I get this news feed, and it was like, such and such died in an auto accident. There was a rollover accident in Vero Beach. A kid who was hit on a motorcycle. They're praying to save his life. There's another hepatitis case that came out. Let me tell you, it's hard for anybody to handle that kind of negativity day in and day out. And it raises your blood sugar. It causes cortisol. And over time, it's okay for an instant pop one time you see it. Your body's designed for that. But it's not designed for that day in and day out stress. Okay. So this is the perfect storm for creating excess body fat. I mean that. It's not because you've been going to McDonald's once a month when you're traveling. It's not because you're having a couple of glasses of wine. It's really a lot to do with stress. So I encourage you to find some, there's a lot of ways that people deal with stress. The first one is to be aware of it, to know about it, and then you can actually do things to help remove it. Hey, I was reading something about mental illness and what causes people to be mentally ill. And this has made so much sense to me. So pay attention here. If you get so focused on one thing all the time, let's say it's your job, and it becomes almost obsessive. When you go to sleep, you think about your job, or maybe you're focusing on raising children without changing that thought pattern and thinking about it every day, or even if you're in a hobby that you're doing all the time, what happens is your brain needs to change gears every now and then. It needs to have like a salad with lots of colorful things in it. You need time for rest. You need time for recuperation, and you need hobbies. You need creativity. And if you're sitting, so there's nothing worse than somebody who has a vacation and they'd rather work through the vacation and get the extra money than take the vacation. I always recommend you take the vacation, because if you don't, you're going to be so stressed, and over time it leads to mental problems, depression, anxiety, and things like that. So I know for a fact, because I love some hobbies, and one of the hobbies I'm very passionate about in the past has been fishing. I like to fish. And over the years, I grew up in Stewart. So I remember when there was very little size limits, and you could take fish home and eat them. And people used to fish all around the bridges on the Roosevelt and on the Evans Prairie bridges. And over the years, they've really cramped down on fishing. And I believe that I think it's more environmental why the fishing is decreasing. It's more about pollution and runoff into the waterways than it is people taking fish. So I started to have just anxiety over, frustration over the FWC and all these rules and restrictions. And I knew it was time to change my hobby. And that's what I did. I joined a wonderful hunting lease out in, a friend of mine has a 6,000 acre ranch, and I started spending time outside and, looking at the birds and taking pictures of the animals. And it became another passion of mine. And you know what? I felt better. I felt better because of my being so focused on just the fishing over the years. I kind of had run it out. So, hey, do hobbies, take up photography. Ceramics is wonderful. I know there's a place in downtown Stewart where you can work with clay and you can mold it and you can spin it on the wheel and touch it with your hand. That kind of stuff is really, really healthy for you. All right. Okay, so you listen to the Slim Body Laser Spa, and I'm using a non-invasive class 3 device laser to help release stubborn subcutaneous fat when diet and exercise just isn't cutting it for you, or you need help because of hormonal changes. And with that, we're going to do a testimonial. I have a caller online.
Yes, you do.
And are you there, Donna?
Yes, I am, Dr. Tread. How are you this morning?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for calling. I have to say, when you came in, it was a pleasure to meet you. Somebody from a similar place that I grew up, right? Long Island?
Yes.
I think we're all here from Long Island, New York.
Exactly. I'm going back there on Friday.
Yeah. So I was born in Massapequa.
And I went to school in North Massapequa, Plain Edge.
There you go. Well, so we had an instant affinity for each other. So let's get on with the most important part. So what's going on? And you came into the spa. You had some trouble areas, and you tell us.
I had that muffin top thing going on, and no matter what I did, I could not lose it. And I came in. I've had 9 treatments, and I've lost 7 inches.
Wow! And can I ask how old you are? Is that being too?
No, not at all. I'll be 71 in July.
Right. I think it's important because people think when they're in their 70s, there's just no reason. No, it's hopeless, but not at all.
Oh Lord! Oh, that's not the case at all. I have gotten so many compliments. It's so obvious.
Wow.
I'm not heavy by nature. I'm kind of on the thin side, but I had that belly and that muffin top going on. And now I kind of have a little bit of a 6-pack. Pretty cool.
Now, when you signed up, I know you trusted because of the procedure and how we explained it, but I know you had to be skeptic, right? Did you?
A little bit.
A little bit.
But after the first treatment, I mean, it was a wonderful. I've dozed off quite a few times.
What? You were sleeping and losing fat?
Yeah,
I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, obviously it is. And the staff is just wonderful. I mean, it's a happy place. It's a nice place to come.
Right. So what happens is when you come in, you get pictures taken, right? And we do measurements. And then you go into the laser room. You lay on your back for 30 minutes?
30 minutes.
And the paddles are moved around to the areas you need to lose the inches. And they're not hot or anything, right?
No, actually, they're very comfortable. As I said, I fall asleep.
And then you move into the whole body vibration area, right? The plates.
Lord. Well, that was the thing in the beginning that I was a little leery of.
Right.
And the first time was I felt a little funny. By the second time, it was like, oh, this is really cool.
Right. And the process of whole body vibration is to move those calories around, and then you don't eat 2 hours before or 2 hours after, and you burn those calories.
Exactly.
It's quite amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's great.
It actually feels good. I can't explain it. It was, it's a little frightening in the beginning because, you're moving around and you're saying, what is this doing?
Yeah.
But I think
it's like being on the Long Island Railroad, standing up, being a strap hanger.
Yeah, but there's so many benefits. And actually, when I have my Fitbit on, it registers as exercise. So that's cool.
That's great. Now, you have a unique personality, and you found kind of a career near the later part of somebody's life. I'd love for you to tell a little bit about that.
Yes. In 19, oh boy.
1890, you mean?
In 2010, I joined Senior New York, and it's for, you have to be over 60, and it's a pageant. You have to have a talent. And I always sang, but I never really sang in front of people. I would go into karaoke, and the only song I ever sang was Crazy, and it was the only song I knew.
Patsy
and
Cline.
Through this pageant, one of the things is that you're in the Cameo Club, which you do. You go all over the state, of New
Right.
York, and you sing for veterans and senior citizens. So I kind of got my chops doing that, and I realized I love singing in front of an audience. So now I'm a singer. I get paid to do that.
Right. So how you looked and your physical appearance is important to anybody, even a not a singer. But
It is, and it really has nothing to do with this pageant in particular. It has nothing to do with
right.
seriousness, the way you look. It's not about your weight. It's about how you present yourself.
Right.
It's 5 judges that have to decide whether you could be queen or not. In 2010, I was first runner-up. 2012, I was the queen. And in Florida, in 2016, I was the queen. I won 2 pageants. I'm the only, it's me and one other woman in all of the country that have won 2 states.
Wow. So I heard you had showed us a little video on your cell phone of you singing Happy Birthday. And
Yes.
I have to say it was great. I watched the
thank
whole
you.
thing and we were so proud of you. And
thank you.
I know it's your voice. We didn't do anything for that, but the confidence that you had. So if anybody's out there looking for a hot wedding singer,
Yeah,
right?
a singer.
you just give us a call at the spa. We'll hook you up with Donna. I
Thank
promise.
you. Thank
when
you.
when she comes back from New York.
Actually, yes. And when I'm in New York, I sing there too.
Oh, of
I have
course you
jobs
do.
Booked up ready. Yeah, jobs booked. And I just wanted to mention, Dr. Ted, but I thank you so much for my little spot there. I just finished having the shake, and anybody who's had protein shakes, when you have this shake that you provide with this,
Right, the
it's
protein
amazing.
to help to encourage more protein. Nobody's eating enough protein.
It's delicious. It is. It's not something that you go, oh God, I don't want to drink it. I have that as a snack. It's delicious.
That's great. Well, wonderful. All right, Donna, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And
Dr.
have a
Ted,
safe
and
trip
I
up
will-
north there and enjoy the beautiful Jones Beach.
I will. I hope to see you one more time before I leave.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was great.
Yeah. I have to pinch myself. I came in the other day and there was some wonderful people there and I had a beautiful card that was written to me. Thanks for what you've done. And I just stepped outside and was like, oh man, who would have ever thought that, using a laser to help people to look better, feel better, had such impact on people's lives. It's just been wonderful. Hey, if you're listening, you can do this too. This is not difficult. We're having a fantastic offer and it'll be good pretty much through the whole summer. I don't like to think it expires, but you have to pick up the phone. You got to reach that hand out or go on your computer and put in Dr. Tread or come down to the Slim Body Laser Spa and we'll give you a free consultation. No charge. That means no charge. That means no charge. And you'll sit down with me for about 30 minutes. You'll watch a very informative 6-minute DVD by the manufacturer of the laser. You'll get a tour of our office, which is a mind-blowing tour because there's over 340 signed 8x10 testimonials from just a small smidgen of our clients, people like Donna and the other, God, I don't know, 300-400 people that have called the radio over the last 6 years of doing this radio program. And you can read them and it's just an amazing place to realize that, wow, this is possible. It's very different than a surgeon's office or these other places where they're doing these invasive procedures. They don't have a lot of testimonials on the walls. They don't have all the pictures and the open door policy. I think that when somebody's receiving a surgical procedure and there's gauze and there's fluid transfer and they're sucking fat out and, disposing of blood products and, things like that, it isn't really where you'd want to walk through the office, but our spa is a little more like a health retreat. It's more like a retreat, the Canyon Ranches in Arizona where you go through the rooms and it's quiet and it's peaceful and there's people, the hardest part in the office is just all the laughing and the talking that goes on. We have to keep it quiet here. It's a spa. So give us a call. And if you think you can do it, if it's something that I believe you're a good candidate and you're interested and you just want to try it, touch it, feel it, we offer a $49 discovery day. And that discovery day coupon is the first visit for $49, no obligation to sign for the plan. If you choose to do the plan, you want to, take advantage of what we're doing there. I credit your lipo plan, the amount of that laser visit. So you save about $300-400 on the purchase of a plan. Okay. So I want to explain in the next 10 minutes or so a little bit about how this procedure works in a really simple analogy. This is not complicated. So, and this is exactly what I would explain in the office when somebody comes in as a new client after we've watched the video and then we've talked about what they want to do. So bear with me. I'm going to orient you a little bit about anatomy and where we store calories so you can understand this analogy. So a human, we eat food, and this is also very important about weight loss. One of the reasons why we eat food is we need energy, right? So, when you work, when you get up and you run or sit or pick up things or, grow food or carry water up or play tennis, you're burning energy. You're actually burning energy to do that. Just like your car needs gasoline to make the motor run, you need fuel to make your body work. And that fuel is in the form of food. That's why we eat food. We got to replace the energy that we expend. So just like your car, if you put terrible gasoline in your car that was full of debris and wasn't good, your car is not going to run very well. The same thing goes with your body, people. If you're putting food in that's devitalized, that has no life principle, it was sold to you with lots of sugar and salt and processing, those foods are bad. They're dangerous, and they're going to make you sick eventually. Maybe not today, maybe not when you're in your 20s or 30s. You have a lot of get out of jail cards when you're younger, but toxins accumulate over time, and as you get older, they take their toll. Anybody who's over 50 or 60 years old will tell you that that's the truth. So now what happens is the amount of energy that you burn per day has to be replaced the next day or two with food. If you don't replace that energy that you burn, let's say you burn 2,400 calories for the day, and the next day you only get 1,000 calories. And then you burn another 2,400 and you only get another 1,000 to put in. You burn 2,400, another 1,000. Eventually, you won't be able to do 2,400 calories of work. Your body's going to get weak. You're going to lose muscle tone. You're going to lose fat, and you're going to be living on 1,000 calorie work schedule because that's all the food you have. Okay. And that's a law of energy. Now, if you're burning 2,400 calories each day, yet you're eating 3,400 calories every day, you burn 2,400, you eat 3,400. You burn 2,400, you eat 4,000, you're going to become fat. You're going to get bigger and bigger. Those extra 1,000 calories that are above and beyond your burn rate are going to be stored as fat. Now, is this new? Does anybody not know this? So what's the most important thing about this? You need to know your burn rate, people. You need to know how many calories you burn at rest. Okay. It's really pretty simple. Just like you need to know how much gas your car can take. You don't overfill it till it fills into the car seats. You stop before it spills into the rest of the car. The same thing goes with your burn rate with your body. Most people need 2,400 calories a day. That's the average. That's somebody who's in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, has good muscle tone. They're exercising a lot. Their body fat is under 20 to 25%. Once you start getting older in your 50s, 60s, or 40s, or 50s, 60s, or 70s, and you start to gain body fat, you're becoming 25%, 30, which is obese, your caloric intake drops down to like 1,800, 1,500 calories. That's your set point, people. So if you're 30% body fat or 35%, and you know if you are, you can reach down and look, and you're eating more than 1,500 or 1,800 calories a day, you're going to be in trouble. You're not going to ever be able to lose weight. You have to eat less than your BMR. It's called the body mass index, the basal metabolic rate. And we can calculate it at the office. It's a 5-minute test. We put your age, your weight, your gender, your height, how much you exercise, and then we put these electrodes on your foot and on your hand. It's a very gentle, you don't feel any electricity, and it passes a current, and it measures how quickly the current, it's called impedance. It measures the resistance of the current, and then it compares you to a database, and it gives you an exact body fat percentage, resting caloric intake, or your burn rate, and your total body water. Dehydration is a big problem out there. I do these tests. I do thousands of these tests. 80% of the people to 90% of the people that do it are dehydrated. I mean, massively dehydrated. They're not getting enough water. Oh, but I have coffee. That's not the same. I drink sweet tea. Oh, that's not the same. You know what can help is fruits and vegetables that have a lot of water. That helps a lot. So dehydration is a big problem. If you're dehydrated, drink more water. It's cheap. But understand something. If you've been chronically dehydrated for a long time, it can take 2 to 3 months before you get the hydration back. 2 to 3 months before your body starts to absorb that water. And it's so important to do that. So once you understand that, so what happens is you store calories in 2 separate compartments. You store calories in your visceral fat, which is around your gut. And then you store calories in the subcutaneous area, which is the stuff that's on the outside, the stuff you can squeeze and bend, pinch with your fingers. And this is what we do at the spa. If you want to lose weight and need to lose weight, you got to eat less and exercise. That's the visceral fat. That's the stuff that's behind the muscle deep in your body. The subcutaneous fat compartment is on the outside of the body. It is something which is the stuff you can squeeze with your fingers. That's what my laser targets. That subcutaneous fat layer, not the visceral fat. None of these machines go through the muscle wall. Everything is targeting the outer layer, this outside stuff. So for that reason, if you're overweight, obese, and you go to liposuction or the Cool Sculpting or SafeSculpt, or even to us, you're still going to need to eat less and exercise to get a result. Now, Cool Sculpting and SafeSculpt and liposuction, they have really a restriction on body fat. If you're over 25% body fat, which is right at the cusp of being overweight, to 30%, which is really common. 80% of America is overweight and 40% is obese. You are not a candidate for liposuction or SafeSculpt or Cool Sculpting. It says in the literature that you're not a good candidate because they're spot fat reduction. It's a small area. They're targeting an area about the size of your hand. So if you took your palm of your hand, both hands, put them on that belly fat, that's the only area that those procedures can target, is these very small areas. Now, that does not apply with liposuction, where they can suck out massive amounts of fat and cut off massive amounts of skin. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about the person who is like, I want to get rid of some belly fat. I don't like this, but they're overweight. So most of these offices will not accept you if you're more, over 30%, but a lot do. And these are the people that are unhappy with some of these procedures because they just it's just no way you can't go to the fight with a BB gun, with a knife when everybody's got guns. You need something that's more appropriate for what's going on. So at the Slim Body Laser Spa, my laser paddles are placed all the way around your midsection, kind of like a belt, like a weight belt. Like those wrestlers' weight belt, a big thick belt that goes all the way around. And then in 10 minutes, it releases the calories from where that belt's applied. And then you move it up and it releases calories across the top of the fat and then on the sides, on the muffin top. In 30 minutes, that procedure has been performed, but the calories are not out of the system yet. They're still trapped in that subcutaneous compartment. Now, the surgeon with liposuction would suck it out and put it in a jar next to you. We don't do that. We move those calories from that fatty space into the visceral system through the lymphatic system by using whole body vibration. And the vibration plate in 10 minutes moves and shifts those calories very quickly into the visceral system. The visceral system is where you burn energy. It's your kitchen. It's where you consume food. And you will burn those calories over the next 4 hours as long as you haven't eaten before the laser. So you don't eat 2 hours before, 2 hours after. And in that 30 minutes after the laser, in that 2 hours, you're going to burn those calories. You're going to, and they go into the air as energy, and you get a smaller outside fat, and you don't make any fat on the inside. So that's kind of how it works. So I'm going to give you an analogy of a little silly analogy of how this works. So you're at your home, at your house, and you've been buying food from the grocery store and filling up your kitchen. And that's where you eat day to day, right? Everybody eats in their kitchen. Now, we live in Florida, and there's a chance that you might have a hurricane or some kind of natural disaster, which could close the stores. So it's important to have a few extra calories stored either in your house. I like to store it in my garage because I'm a prepper. I like a lot of food. I don't want to go 3 days and be hungry. I don't want to go 3 weeks. I have about 3 months worth of food just because I know my friends and family are going to rely on me because I'm a prepper. So I have a lot of stuff in my garage just in case. I got water, I got batteries, I got flashlights, I got a little air conditioning setup, I got a generator. I don't like being uncomfortable. And I have that in my garage along with my food. So this is the analogy. You're at your house and you've got your food in the garage and you got your food in the kitchen. And one of the kids from the neighborhood comes over and she wants to visit with you and you want her to visit, and she's got her bicycle, but she doesn't want to leave the bicycle in front of the house. She's asked, do you have a place I can put it? And you're like, well, sure, honey, you can put it in the garage. That's what the garage is for. And so she walks over to the garage with you. Now, remember, and she picks up the door. You pick up the door to put the bike in, and the garage is filled with food. I mean, the food is right up to the door of the garage. There's no room for the car. There's no room for the bicycle. There's no room for you. And get it. So, I would always look at the client and squeeze the belly fat, said, this is the food, and they go, yeah, I understand. And you're like, oh my God, you look at it and you're like, oh, honey, this stuff has been here for since Hurricane Andrew. It's 20 years ago. Some of this stuff was from Piggly Wiggly. I mean, this is old food and I haven't eaten it. And I don't know what to do. Let's get some of it out. Let's throw it away. Make enough room for your bike today. So she go get the trash can. She goes, gets the trash can, comes back, puts it by the garage. You get on your hands and knees and you start trying to get the food out. You try to, to get it off out of the garage. And you're like, well, hold on. Oh my God, I can't get it out. And no matter how hard you try, you can't get it out that way. And this is a fact. Okay. Those calories are precious. Those fat calories are so precious. Remember, 8,000 years ago, most humans died from starvation because there was no food. So if you were a human who was lucky enough to have enough calories to make some fat that you didn't need for the day, your body's not going to give it up. It's going to save it in case you run out of food some other time. And this is a fact. These fat cells never go away. They'll hold those calories until you either burn it or you're going to die with those calories. That's why people die when they're fat. They don't lose all their calories. They're there forever. So you can't take them out that way. And you're like, wow, but wait a minute. One of your neighbors is watching this and he's like, hang on, hold on. I've got this nitrogen gun, this fat freezing gun. It blows cold air out. And let me help you with that. And he goes to the food and he uses that nitrogen and freezes the front half of the food, just a little bit of it, like an inch of it. And it turns black. And then over a couple of weeks, it congeals, it turns to fluid and pus, and then it's sucked into the garage somehow. And in 3 months, there's a little bit of a decrease. That's cool sculpting. That's all they're doing. They're freezing the fat. It's being sucked in. Now you have another friend says, no, I don't believe in that freezing thing. I have a hot torch that I use whenever I cook the boar. I like to burn the skin off. So let's do this. And he torches the front half of the food. It chars it. It cooks it. It dies. And then in turns to pus. It gets sucked back into the garage. And in 3 months, there's a little bit of a change. That's a hot laser. That's safe. Of course, it's a little exaggerated, but that is what it's doing. And another friend says, no, I'm old school, man. I don't believe in this new technology. I've got a scraping tool that you'd scrape like the tile off a floor. And he comes in and he starts scraping the front half of the food and it falls on the ground. Then he comes up with a shop vac and he vacuums it up. People, that's liposuction. Now, that's not what we're going to do. So you look at the girl and you're like, honey, I can't get the food out. I don't know what to tell you. And she looks at you and she says, hey, she goes, you got to eat the food in the garage. You're like, excuse me, honey? She goes, you got to eat the food in the garage. You've been buying food from the grocery store and filling up the garage and buying food and filling up the kitchen. You've only been eating from the kitchen. You've never gone out to eat from the garage. And that's true. But you weren't planning on that. You weren't going to go to the garage. It's, Chef Boyardee, SpaghettiOs. You weren't planning on it. You were only going to go there when you ran out of food in the kitchen. And that's the truth. The body's the same way. You can't burn subcutaneous fat until you go through the visceral fat. In other words, you got to eat the kitchen first before you can go out and eat the food in the garage. But our laser allows you to do that. And this is the analogy. This is what she says. So she says, how about if I come over and we have lunch from the garage? I'll come over 3 days a week, take lunch from the garage, put it in the kitchen. As long as the only thing you have to do is be hungry. So she says, great, I can do that. So Monday comes around, she goes into the garage, opens up the cans and puts 600 calories, just opens the cans and puts 600 calories on the plate. That's all our laser does is open up the fat cells. Now it's on the plate and she walks from the garage into the kitchen and brings it on the table. That's the purpose of whole body vibration. It simply moves the calories from the garage into the kitchen or from the subcutaneous into the visceral fat. Now you come home, you haven't eaten in 2 hours, you're hungry. You eat the food, you eat the lunch, and you make room in the garage. You don't make new fat in the system. We're doing that, and you do that 3 times a week for 3 weeks with this girl. And at the end of 3 weeks, there's room in the garage for the bicycle. That's kind of what we're doing. It's that simple. We're using the laser to target a spot that you can't do on your own, and then you're not eating to burn the fat. I hope that makes sense to you. I'm sorry I'm out of time, but give us a call. drtred.com will help you out. I appreciate you so much. Thank you.